am so excited to be here. It is amazing to see you all. When I started BAR, the basic belief about BAR is that educators are going to have the solutions if we can be able to talk to each other. But I also always knew that the schools needed to be able to talk together. So when we first started, there were 3 of us. And it was Bucksport, Maine, St. Louis Park in Minnesota, and Hemet, California. So Josh Tripp is here. And Josh Tripp is the principal at Bucksport, Maine. And our first conference, there were 18 of us in the Bucksport Library, and we ordered Jimmy John's for lunch. So we've come quite a ways, but I'm so happy that we are still staying incredibly connected. So these past couple years have been incredibly challenging, but also inspiring. I know many of you in this room have experienced so much, both professionally as well as personally. I know many have actually experienced significant losses, some in your own schools, in your own communities, even in your own homes. We have not been unscathed either. Our families had some painful losses this past year. My great-nephew Quinn was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder, sadly died a year ago this month at the age of 21 months. And then 2 months later, my father-in-law Bruce died. So our family's dealing with some very hard things, as I know we all are. So Quinn's family decided to do something really positive and loving amidst this tragedy. They established a memorial fund in Quinn's name to help build playgrounds for immune-compromised children in underserved neighborhoods, and they established the Quinn's Running Club. They held an inaugural event for the running club at the Flying Pig Marathon in Cincinnati, Ohio on October 31st, 2021. The running club was a way to raise funds for the playgrounds, but it also was a way for us to be reconnected and have a way to be together as family. So family and friends across the country signed up to start raising money to run the 5K, the 10K, the half, as well as the full marathon. Everyone in my family started training. All the runners were all connected via an app. And I was getting these pings every day of people in Seattle and California and Cincinnati that are running, and they're all training, and we're all working together. So Haley and Jonah, my children, committed to decide to run the full marathon. Those that recall earlier stories of my children know that the previous marathon they ran together did not go well. In 2017, Haley was training for her very first marathon at the conclusion of running 4 years at Xavier University in Cincinnati. She had trained vigilantly. Weeks before the race, her training partner and the other track captain was injured. Jonah, my son, was a senior in high school. He said, "I'll run with her. I don't want her to run alone." So Jonah had run 8 miles previous to this, and Haley had been training for months as well as running Division I for 4 years. My husband and I thought this was a very bad idea. So after many, many family conversations, sometimes as a parent, you just let it happen. And you're going to hope a 17-year-old self-confidence is going to get them through 26.2 miles. So here's what we found out. Jonah could run about 16 miles, and things got real dicey. There's 10 miles to go. Jonah starts pleading with Haley, "Just leave me, keep running, leave me." Haley, as the never-ending older sister, is, "I will never leave you." At a real low point, Jonah was in a porta potty, begging her to leave, and she's on the outside of the door saying, "You're doing great." So a little tip, 17-year-old boy does not appreciate older sister cheering for them on the other side of a porta potty. Those that have heard this story, I want to thank you all for sending me pictures of porta potties over the past couple years saying you're thinking of me and my children. So they finished the race at the exact 10th of a second, but there was some definite tension in our house for the next days and weeks because Haley did not feel like Jonah appreciated her support. And Jonah said, "I asked you to leave me." So Haley and Jonah said this marathon was going to go so much better. They developed a training plan, and they started training together 5 months, including kind of early runs that started very, very early at our house. They had a plan for the race, which included when they're going to get waters, when they're going to get goo packs, when they're going to go to the porta potties, and they had a shared understanding of timing. They decided they're not going to go out too fast. They are going to run sub 9-minute miles, and if at mile 21 they felt good, they're going to pick up the pace. The biggest thing that they confirmed is if someone wasn't feeling well, or if somebody was feeling exceptional, they're going to split up. We are not going to repeat the last race fiasco. So marathon weekend arrived. I ran the 5K the day before. I said to support the half and full marathoners, but the reality is I did not want to run that far. So I downloaded the app so I could track kind of all the runners, and I'm going to be equipped with water, Advil, goo packs, and I am ready to kind of support everybody. I ran the interior of the path, and I met the runners multiple times to cheer them on and check on them. I saw Haley and Jonah at mile 20. They were in good spirits, running way below 9-minute miles. They both felt good. They said they're picking up the pace at mile 21. I said, I'm going to meet you a mile before the finish line. I hustled to my final position. I got there, I checked the app, and they were totally off pace. Their tracking dots are barely moving, let alone are they speeding up. I kept watching the app, and I began to wonder, was one of them hurt? Were both of them hurt? Why are they still together? They had confirmed repeatedly they would split up if something happened. After what seemed like forever, I finally glimpsed them around the corner. No one was hobbling. No one was bleeding. They seemed happy, or as happy as you can be, running 26 miles. They spotted their cheering section. The crowd erupted. They ran and crossed the finish line together. So I saw them both after the race, and I wasn't sure what happened. This wasn't the plan, and they did not hit the time they'd been training for the past 5 months. But they both seemed really pleased with the results. I finally asked, kind of, what happened? Why'd you change your pace? They then shared that Haley, who went to school in Cincinnati, saw a friend struggling around mile 22, which running runners know is often where you hit the wall. Haley spotted her friend and asked Jonah, what should we do? Without hesitation, Jonah said, let's stick with him like you stuck with me. That was it. They didn't say anything special to the friend, but they all started running together. All the friend knew is he had 2 people running with him, with their never-ending jokes, but most importantly, he knew he was no longer alone. So I have to tell you, as a mom, this was a big positive moment. Like, this was better than any time they could have done. The fact that they saw somebody and chose to support them versus staying on their own, like, this is like what you're kind of hoping for when you're parenting. So I'm still at the race, and I have to say, I then started thinking about all of you. I know how chaotic and painful these past couple years have been. I also know amidst your grief, your exhaustion, your frustration, you at times developed a plan, just like my kids had a plan. I know many times your plan was working. You were hitting your times. You were navigating these incredible, tragic, ridiculous times, and you were making progress. And then you noticed a friend, a colleague, a student, a family member that needed some support, a kind word, or a little inspiration. You didn't pause. You set aside your plan to help somebody else. They didn't ask you to be there. They didn't know you had a plan. You were just there. I also want you to reflect on the many times that someone else showed up for you. Think of the many times that you were tired, you were out of creative ideas, you were frustrated, and someone appeared and offered to help. They offered to help grade papers, to problem solve a struggling student, to bring you a coffee, or just sit with you and say, we would get through this. You didn't ask them to come. You had no idea what they were doing before, but you knew you were no longer alone. So back to the marathon. I want to make sure you all understand, Haley's friend is an amazing athlete. He was running faster than my kids for 22 miles. The fact that he hit his challenge is not reflective of his talent, his ability, his training, or his commitment. this is similar to all of you. When one of us falters, it's not because we're lacking in talent, ability, training, or commitment. It's what happens, especially in challenging times. But it happens to all of us. Your ability to care for one another and to receive support from one another, regardless of role, years of experience, title, that's what counts. And that's how we all finish together. So as powerful as this was to see within schools, I was struck by realizing I had an incredible perspective because this was happening between all of our schools, all across the country. Rural, urban, suburban, small, large, private, public, charters, all of you were working together. Bar coordinators, administrators, teachers, you are reaching out to the schools, regardless of context, regardless of where you're located, regardless of how big or small your school was, to help strategize as well as celebrate successes. I know no one had extra time, and yet you continue to extend yourself. After hours, you're sending messages, you're calling, you're continuing to help each other. Together, you develop plans across the country to help support staff, how to communicate to the community, how to support students and families, but you made sure no one was alone. No student, no teacher, no administrator, no school, and no community. The BAR network was never more powerful than we have been these past couple of years, and it's because of you. Our theme for the conference is Together, we can build something extraordinary and build an education for our nation. The together part is what makes it possible, and we are showing everyone how to build an education for our nation. Each of you are like runners in this very long marathon, but I know whatever challenge is around the corner, we'll keep running, and we'll face it together. There's an African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. We are going far. All of you make me so proud. Thank you for all you're doing, and thank you for being here.